Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Mukaddas Education Wali and I'm a student in Rehan School Foundation course batch 2. Today I will be asking questions from Maya based on sorry, not sorry. So let's get started.
Hey there. What's up?
Hi, so I'll be asking a question based on sorry and not sorry. Can I start?
Absolutely. Go ahead and start. What's your first question?
What does the phrase sorry, not sorry actually mean?
It's basically a defiant apology. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm not changing what I did. It's a bit passive aggressive, right? The person doing the apologizing is doubling down on their behavior instead of actually showing remorse. It signals they're not taking responsibility or acknowledging they did something wrong.
Okay,
What
so
made you curious about that phrase specifically?
it just seems
Got it.
interesting. So, how is it different from a real apology?
A real apology usually involves empathy, remorse, and acceptance of responsibility. Someone genuinely apologizing acknowledges they've hurt or wronged someone else, shows they understand why it was wrong, and might offer to make amends. Sorry, not sorry skips all that. It's a performative apology, checking the box of politeness without actually meaning it. There's this dismissive shrug underneath it all. Like they're saying, I'm sorry if you're upset, but I stand by my choices.
Why do people use it instead of simply saying what they feel?
I think it's a few things. Sometimes people use it to signal that they actually don't regret what they did. It's a way to push back against what they perceive as criticism. Other times, it might be a defensive thing. They're already bracing for backlash and trying to preemptively shut down further conversation. Maybe they're testing boundaries, seeing how far they can push someone while still technically saying sorry. It's often more about protecting themselves.
So, when did the phrase become popular in everyday language?
Let me check when it really took. So it started popping up around the early 2000s, with music and media pushing it into the mainstream. By the 2010s, with Twitter and other platforms blowing up, it really became everywhere. Dictionary.com specifically traces it back to around 2001 with online discussions, and then got huge with Demi Lovato's song in 2017.
So, how does social media help spread the phrase?
It's pretty simple, really. Platforms like Twitter and TikTok just give these phrases legs. Once they get traction and a meme or a hashtag, they can spread at a crazy speed. The shareable nature of social media basically fast tracks cultural trends. So even if something was around before, social media pushes it into mainstream vocabulary really quickly. Plus, things like TikTok especially turn phrases into challenges or sounds, which creates even faster diffusion. People see it, try it, share it, rinse and repeat.
Has its meaning changed over time? If yes, how?
Actually, yeah, the meaning has definitely shifted. Originally, it was almost completely confrontational, pretty aggressive refusal to apologize genuinely. But as it got popular, it picked up layers. Now it's more complex. Sometimes it's still that defiant, unapologetic stance. But it can also be cheeky, playful, or even ironic. Like someone might use it when they're being self deprecating or making fun of themselves rather than being genuinely hostile. So it got flexible through comedy and cultural influence, transforming from purely defiant to more playful and ambivalent.
So, what emotions or attitudes does sorry, not sorry usually express?
The thing is, it's pretty versatile, honestly. Attitude wise, it often suggests defiance, that core idea of I did what I did, deal with it. But there's a bit of sass or cheekiness mixed in, sometimes outright sarcasm. Emotionally, it's usually about protecting yourself, pushing back when someone is criticizing you, or just not wanting to take responsibility. It suggests someone isn't willing to bend, so there's self confidence there too. Maybe even superiority over someone else's perception of the situation. Depends on delivery, but often carries an edge to it.
So, why might someone want to sound apologetic but not actually apologize?
Good question. I think it goes back to wanting to have your cake and eat it too. They get to tick the politeness box without actually changing anything. Some people use it as a way to de escalate without taking ownership. It sounds like they're acknowledging something might be wrong without actually admitting fault or changing behavior. It's social grace without genuine empathy, performative rather than sincere. In relationships, that makes for some tense dynamics where both people feel unheard.
How can a tone or text change how the phrase is understood?
Tone is huge with that phrase. Context matters big time. If someone says it sarcastically, it's obviously not a real apology. If they say it matter of factly, it can feel more firm, more unapologetic. In text, it's similar. A bunch of exclamation points might read playful, while something shorter or in all caps could feel more dismissive. Emoji use changes it too. The hard eyes version is way different than if someone adds angry or eye rolling emojis to it. Essentially, the nonverbal bits clarify whether they actually meant I'm sorry or I don't care how you feel about what I did.
So, is the phrase seen as a humorous, rude, confident, or something else? Why?
That's where it gets interesting. It's genuinely all of those, depending on the situation. A lot of times it comes across as confident or even empowering because it rejects the typical obligation to grovel. Sometimes it's funny if someone's poking fun at themselves or the situation rather than being legitimately spiteful. But it can definitely read as rude, particularly if someone's using it to minimize harm to others or dismiss valid feelings. It really is this weird combo depending on delivery and circumstance. It can swing from self owning humor to passive aggression in seconds.
Okay, so how do different age groups use or interpret it differently?
Good point. You definitely see age gaps in how it lands. Younger generations, like Gen Z, um, tend to use it more ironically or playfully, sort of owning a slightly bad behavior without full regret. It's like a way to acknowledge they did something questionable but not feel totally guilty. Older groups might take it at face value as just rude or dismissive because they grew up with more traditional apology norms. They might be more likely to read it as intentionally aggressive rather than playful. There's also the factor that older generations might not pick up on the sarcasm as easily or see it as disrespectful, where younger ones see it as lighthearted self awareness.
Okay, so how does the phrase reflect modern communication styles online?
I think it's actually really emblematic of our online communication styles. You know how we're all pretty performative on social media? That phrase is essentially a communication style where people show off their thoughts while subtly avoiding genuine sincerity or taking full responsibility. It shows a kind of social performance rather than full transparency. People craft this image that doesn't require deep self reflection or remorse. It speaks to how communication feels more transactional and less empathetic than genuine face to face. And that's all supported by the constant stream of communication that we have. There's not that same depth or weight to online chats, especially in a world where you can block someone after saying sorry, not sorry anyway.
Is using sorry, not sorry honest or passive aggressive? Explain your view.
Think it's fundamentally passive aggressive, even though it can be layered with humor or irony. While some people might use it playfully to make light of situations, the core element really it communicates acknowledgement of harm without actually expressing remorse or taking responsibility. Essentially, it's a way to sidestep true accountability. If someone sincerely felt sorry, they wouldn't need to add not sorry. There'd be empathy without the caveat. The not sorry cancels out the entire meaning of apology. It's there specifically to make sure no one thinks they're being vulnerable or accountable, while still making enough concession to get you off their back without actually changing.
So, can this phrase harm relationship or misunderstandings? How?
Absolutely. I'd say it has a pretty high potential to cause damage in relationships or misunderstandings, at least. When someone hears sorry, not sorry from someone they care about, they're likely to feel unheard or dismissed. This, the not sorry part, basically undermines the apology, showing the other person is actually not remorseful about whatever they did wrong. Plus, it can erode trust over time, and frequent use makes it clear that genuine apology isn't on the table. On the misunderstanding end, if the person saying it isn't good at communicating nonverbally or their delivery is flat, it just reads as dismissive when playful behavior was intended. The fact that the phrase has become common doesn't make it any less toxic.
Okay, so thank you so much for answering my questions. Bye.
You're very welcome. Glad I could help. Bye.